to interact with you on the topics such as gender, poverty, and economic growth. Let me understand, what is your expectations? What do you think you should be learning out of this session, or we should be learning out of this session? That's a better word. May I ask Shobha BS? And you can talk to me in Kannada, you can talk to me in Hindi, you can talk to me in English. I'm comfortable with these three languages. Language should not be a barrier in case if you consider languages are barriers. Dr. Meenakshi or Dr. Jyoti KL?
Sir, the role of gender in economic growth of the country that we have to know, whose percentage is high, whether the male or female, and how to improve the percentage.
How to improve the percentage of probably the women participation?
If it is less.
If it is less, okay. Do you think it is less?
I don't know exact statistics, but women are equally contributing, I think. So.
No, that's quite obvious. As women, you will say that, and you would certainly say that.
I should say.
Can I know from Dakshinamurthy, sir? Or Dr. Yellama?
ಈ ಬಡತನದ ಹಿನ್ನೆಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಮಹಿಳೆಯರ ಸ್ಥಿತಿಗತಿಗಳು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ರೂಪುಗೊಂಡಿವೆ ಮತ್ತು ಆ ಬಡತನ ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಮಹಿಳೆಯರ ಶೋಷಣೆಗೆ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಕಾರಣ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಬಯಸ್ತೀನಿ ಸರ್.
Wonderful, wonderful. Then I'll meet your expectation. ನಿಮ್ಮ ನಿರೀಕ್ಷೆಗಳನ್ನ ಮುಟ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಭಾವಿಸುತ್ತೆ ಪ್ರಸನ್ನ ಸರ್. Okay, so he said we need to understand the causality and consequence of poverty also to the extent possible. Let us see. And you are seeing a photograph of a person who doesn't need any introduction, right? Okay. He said something about the violence. I'm asking you, which is the worst form of violence? Anybody can answer.
Sir, ಎಲ್ಲವೂ worst ಅಲ್ವಾ ಸರ್?
ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಅವ್ರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ಯಾವುದೋ ಒಂದು ಬಹಳ
ಇನ್ಇಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ ಸರ್.
ಇನ್ಇಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ ಇಸ್ ದ ವರ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಫ್ ವೈಲೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಸರ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ನಾಗೇಶ್ ಅವರ ಓಕೆ
ಸರ್. ಎಸ್ ಎಸ್
any other answers, any other guesses?
Sir, maybe mental torture.
Mental torture is the worst form of violence anta.
Yes sir.
Inequality, mental torture,
ಶೋಷಿತರನ್ನ
ಆರ್ಥಿಕ ಅಸಮತೋಲ,
economic
It is very stress, sir. It is very stress.
Stress is a okay. I think stress is the most form of violence according to Gen Z.
Yes, sir.
Not us probably. I think in our generation we didn't know much about stress. Okay. Anyways.
poverty.
Okay. Poverty. Okay, that's another answer. Good.
ಶೋಷಿತ
मैंने सुना है कि हमारे साथ झारखंड और दूसरे और राज्य से भी साथिया है.
ಹಿಂಸೆ ಸರ್.
झारखंड से है.
ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ಬರನ್ನು ಹಿಂಸಿಸೋದು ಸರ್.
Sorry.
ಹಿಂಸೆ.
I didn't ಹಿಂಸೆ ಮೀನಾಕ್ಷಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಹಿಂಸೆ ಅಂತ. ಅದನ್ನೇ ನಾನು ಕೇಳಿದೆ, ಹಿಂಸೆ ಯಾವುದು ಅತ್ಯಂತ ಏನೋ ಏನನ್ಬೋದು ನಾವು ವರ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಅನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಇರ್ಲಿ. ಅತ್ಯಂತ ನಿಕೃಷ್ಟ ಹಿಂಸೆ ಯಾವುದು ಅಂತ ಕರಿಬಹುದು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ?
ಸರ್ ಪಾವರ್ಟಿ, ಬಡತನ
ಅಂತ ರಕ್ಷಿತಾ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಗೂಗಲ್ ಬಿಟ್ರ ಮೇಡಮ್? ಗೂಗಲ್ ಚಾಟ್ ಜಿಪಿಟಿನ ಕೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ರೆ ಕಷ್ಟ.
ಇಲ್ಲ ಸರ್.
ಇಲ್ವಾ? ಓಕೆ, ಗ್ರೇಟ್. ಜಾರ್ಖಂಡ್ ಸೆ ಕೋಯಿ ಹೈ ಯಹಾ? ಹಾ,
ಶೋಷಿತರನ್ನ ಮತ್ತಷ್ಟು ಶೋಷಣೆ ಒಳಪಡಿಸ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದೇ ಅತ್ಯಂತ ವರ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಆಫ್ ವೈಲೆನ್ಸ್.
Okay. Subjecting most excluded are already deprived into further deprivation. Okay. So which other states other than Karnataka? I'm only seeing Kannada, hearing Kannada voices. Any other states we have here? People from any other states? No one?
Sir, I'm basically from Karnataka, Mysore, no, Kannadiga, but working in Andhra Pradesh at Central Tribal University of Andhra Pradesh.
Central?
Tribal University of Andhra Pradesh.
Okay. You contributed for the NEP, right?
Yeah, our
During
former Vice Chancellor,
Vice
Professor
Chancellor.
T.V. Kattimani.
Kattimani, sir.
T.V. Kattimani, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
We
sir.
have interacted with him quite a long. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. Fine. Anyways, I encourage our friends from other states. Otherwise, Kannadigas will dominate being majority in this session. So I think 30 of them are from Karnataka and rest 25 probably would be from other states. That's what I was told. You are encouraged to participate. Okay. Anyways, for the want of times, as some of you said, Mahatma Gandhi said, poverty is the worst form of violence. Because only the person who has gone through the poverty, probably who has not even had a next meal, who knows what is the worst form of poverty. If you don't have next meal, I think we understand the challenges. Actually, we will not be able to tolerate if someone says next 2 days you will not get food, right? So think about the people who consistently and constantly have no clue about their next meal. So that's the worst form of the violence. Nothing other things can be tolerated, but if there is no food, there is an absolute poverty, then it is not. That's another reason why we should think about and talk about the poverty and gender in today's session. And my session today is also influenced by the philosophy of Swami Vivekananda, who says, go from village to village, do good to humanity and to the world at large. If you do that, nothing else is required. There's no better religion than that. So if you start doing good to the humanity, that's the best form of religion, actually. Ashok's Galaxy, yarappa. So there's a voice coming. Okay. Friends, let me set this premise actually. So we all know development. We keep talking about development, but there's one common definition of development I want you all to think for this today's session. So this is kind of borrowed by the capability approach as well as contextualizing it further by my own actually. Development means an augmenting capabilities of society and persons, and it's all about creating opportunities and choices so that the person or a group of persons in the community can make an informed and appropriate choice. Do you agree with me about this definition? Abhiruddhi antandre enu? हम सब विकास के बारे में बात करते हैं. So what do you mean by विकास, अभिवृद्धि, development?
ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣ ಸಮಾನತೆಯನ್ನು ಸಾಧಿಸುವುದು.
ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣ ಸಮಾನತೆ ಸಾಧಿಸುವಂತದ್ದು. Okay. And do you agree with this definition or do you have any other thoughts? Development means augmenting capabilities of societies and persons. And it's all about creating opportunities and choices so that a person or a group in the community can make an informed and appropriate choice.
Yes, sir.
Nagesh says it is yes. Okay, let me tell you a story of Ratnamma from a nearby village of Mysore. And I'm not telling you a concocted story. And I'll tell who is Ratnamma at the end of this session actually. Ratnamma was married around, she was probably could be around 14-15 years. And by the time she understands what is the real meaning of life, she had 2 babies with husband lost. By around 18 to 19 years of age, she was blessed with, whether she wanted or not, blessed with 2 children, and of course, unfortunately, the demise of her husband. And life was completely a various challenging situation for her, and she had to often migrate to the nearby Kodagu, we call in Karnataka, Coorg district, probably for the outsiders. So, wherein she gets a decent wage, and it's a seasonal employment, she has to keep going to that places to earn her livelihood. And she has to come back to her village whenever there is no season, there is no demand for the labor. This is called what kind of migration as per you? What do you term this migration as?
Seasonal?
Of course, seasonal migration. But something else we can call in economics and of course in development studies also. Whether she had a choice here? See, all of us, I understand, including Dr. Nagesh actively participating, are migrants, right? Most of us are. We have all migrated from our villages. We have all migrated from our cities. Is it because of choice or is it because of force?
Need, sir, need.
There is also a need. But was it a dire need, Dr. Jyoti? Was it as an absolute need? Otherwise, you had no opportunity?
Best one, best opportunity.
Best one. Okay, you migrated to another city or a place because you thought that is a best, that gives you a best opportunity. That means you opted for it. You chose it, right? You could have not chosen it, right? Probably wouldn't have got the same kind of opportunity, but you had less opportunity. Friends, unfortunately, the women even today are subjected to forced migration. So one is migration by choice, or another one is forced migration by inevitability. The story is not only about Ratnamma, there are many women even today undergo this challenge and necessity that despite whether they want or not, they are subjected to migration. They are opted to this forced migration because they have to earn their livelihood. And you know what causes, what consequences because of this forced migration. So there will be, a trade-off with respect to the education of their children. There will be trade-off with respect to the safety of women and children. So they often miss schools, and it caused consequence of the forced migration will be enormous on the country's economy. Although there is an income in the short term, increased income in the short term, and the long term, the impact of the forced migration would be negative on the economy as well as the society. Do you know who is who are living under the poverty? Who lives under the most extreme poverty? And I'll rephrase, make it a little easy also. Between men and women, if let's understand both of them are poor, who will be most poor and whose percentage is most when it comes to poverty, people living in poverty?
Sir, women, sir. Women.
Obvious choice. Okay, because we are in a gender class and it could be only women.
Not exactly, but when it comes to the proportion of men enjoying the professionalism compared to the women is slightly more. So because of that reason, considering that.
Wonderful. Okay. And of course, in the last decade, we have made substantial kind of growth. I would say, I would not call it as a development, but as a growth, economic growth in our country, wherein the people living in extreme poverty has decreased, but still 129 million, maybe around more than 12 crore, still live in extreme poverty in our country as per the World Bank report. But amongst the people living in poverty, most of the people are women. Like normally, if you count between men and women, if 39 men are under poverty, 47 female women are living under the poverty. That means even amongst the people who are living in poverty, the women are the poorest, or they have a substantial number They surpass the men's number. Let's understand this vicious cycle of poverty. That is we call it as a double deprivation of women. While women are, because of the gender, they are deprived, and how gender further deprives them from the economic engagement and economic participation that push them to an absolute poverty. Why do you think the majority of world's poor are women? See, poverty is poverty, and it affects a family. But why women are majority amongst the poor? Can we think of the reasons?
ಆಕೆಗೆ ಆರ್ಥಿಕ ಸ್ವಾತಂತ್ರ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು.
Financial independence. There is no financial independence. That's the reason she is into poverty. Any other thoughts?
So not by giving a choice or a freedom for her to make a life of her own actually. So if you look at like a patriarchal society that we have gone through already, so where that has put so much of restrictions and limitations for them, for making them to be cornered in the economic condition.
Okay. So
Sir,
gender.
most of our work is not paid.
Wonderful. Most of women's work are not paid. That doesn't mean that they are not working. They are working, but it is not paid. How is it?
Most of the women's work is not considered as an economic activity, sir.
Yeah. Again, the another way of looking at it, it's not considered as an economic activity. Why is that?
ಕೆಲವು ಕಡೆ ಪೇ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಕಡಿಮೆ ದರದಲ್ಲಿ ಪೇ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ.
There is a less pay, or there is an disparity in payment, inequality. Okay. And any thoughts? Why it is not considered as economic activity? When some of you are telling, when your colleagues are telling she's working, but it's not considered
because most of the women are engaged in the home activity, household activity. These are not considered as an economic services or economic activity. So that reason, women's particular they have no income.
Yeah.
So service work, most of her work is related to service.
Okay. Most of our work is service to the family, so it is not counted, right? Can others participate? I'm only seeing usual, same participants reacting. We have Vasharani Bujbalji, we have Purnima HV, we have Shweta Nayak, we have Bharti ji, Geeta Siri, so many other people. Great.
Sir, this is male-dominated world.
It's a male
today. Yeah, it's a patriarchal world.
Okay, it's a patriarchal world. Let me say, as you said, as some of you said, one is the care work. Normally, women are engaged in, so are unpaid, whether it is in India, whether it is in any other country for that matter. So International Labour Organization says it estimates 75% of all unpaid care work is only done by women. And if you monetize that, if you associate some value to it, it becomes $10.8 trillion annually. That means it is 3 times bigger than the global tech industry. What global tech industry is earning for the country, for the world. So it is 3 times more than that. That means there is a women participation. It is not being recognized, not being valued. It is taken for granted by every family that she ought to do. She is expected to do. There is no something special by doing that activity. That is one of the major challenge. While they are participating, one, it's not being remunerated, or it is not being monetized. That's another reason. Second thing is, the McKinsey Global Institution report says if you enable them to participate, if you give equal opportunity for them to participate, not more opportunity, if you give them equal opportunity, they can contribute to around $12 trillion to the global GDP annually. This is equivalent to the more than what Japan and Germany combined put together earn for their own countries. That's the potential if we allow women to participate in the economic activity. And Unfortunately, our women, although they are working, some of them we can challenge with some statistics that say these many people are working already. If you come to Indian statistics, so around 35% women are participating in economic activity. But unfortunately, most of them are around 60% of the women, they are informal sector. That means it could be unregistered entities, or it could be they are doing something for their own. And this is not, again, enabling them economically while they are working, but it is not empowering them economically. That's another challenge we have. So because of the informal sector, whatever they are being paid is very minimum or not up to the market level. And coming to our Indian unorganized workforce and economic disparity situation, I'll quickly take you through some of these statistics and causalities, because based on this, we need to think about solutions. It's not to scare you or not, it is not to bombard you with the problems and statistics, but it is to make all of us think as educators, as somebody conscious keepers and conscious builders of the society, as someone who prepare the professionals for various sector tomorrow, how we can think solutions for this problem. That's my intent of this today's session. One is agricultural workforce. If we come to Indian situation, 60 to 80% of our agricultural labor force are India are women. But if you go to any village and ask people, then usual question about what they do in a day. They go on giving you a list of activities they do. It could be about animal husbandry, it could be about agriculture work, all those things they take care. But when you ask them, are you employed? They say no. Because 13% of women own land. Only 13% consider that, okay, I'm kind of employed because the land is in my name. So you can see the huge disparity in these two things. While 60 to 80% of agriculture labor force are women, the assets, the agriculture land, not in their name. This makes a lot of difference when it comes to economic empowerment of them. And you already said unpaid care work, and that's mostly, it's more in India. And if you monetize in our own country, it contributes to 4% of the GDP. And entrepreneurship, another challenge. If you take do this, the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, GEM, did the study and said only 20% of all enterprise in India are owned by women. And most of them, even though they are owners of such enterprises, are micro enterprises, could be 1 or 2 persons working. And this indicates a significant untapped potential for women entrepreneurship. And labor force participation, it has always been a problem in India, and somehow in the last decade, we are improving when it comes to this situation. Now we have reached to the level of 37%. But this is still, that means another 63% are not working, are not considered to be working. They don't have a proper economic opportunity to participate. That shows, again, another untapped potential as well as a challenge. And when it comes to poverty, we have already referred about that. And coming to an interesting statistics, in fact, it is done by my own organization. I was a PI of that particular study in Karnataka. Another disadvantage we are pushing our women to is forced loan taking. I can even call it as forced indebtedness, where women don't want to take loan, but the families pushes them to take loan, especially those who are in the self-help groups. The families insist them to take women. In our study, 71% of the members said the family had another choice. They could have taken loan from some other choice, but they insisted me to take a choice. Now, because of that, I'm in debt. I'm indebted, actually. Even if you go in a state like Karnataka, where we say it's one of the developed state comparatively in the other states in the country, we have at least women are indebted. Those who are in poverty, those who are in self-help groups, at least they have 2 active loans in their name. And not that they wanted to take loan, many times they are forced to take loan. So this is the double disadvantage, wherein one is we evade opportunity, and also another thing is in the patriarchal society, we make them to listen to the others against their own will, and they become a victim of economic disadvantage also. And there are a lot of other things like low wages. Even today, their wages are not at par. There is no parity in wages. Even today, ನಮ್ಮ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ಹೆಣ್ಣಾಳ್ಗಾದ್ರೆ ಇಷ್ಟು ಗಂಡಾಳ್ಗಾದ್ರೆ ಇಷ್ಟು. ಹೆಣ್ಣಾಳ್ಗೊಂದು 350 ರೂಪಾಯಿ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿದ್ರೆ ಗಂಡಾಳ್ಗೊಂದು 700 ರೂಪಾಯಿ. Even 50% less than what the male labor would get. That's still a challenge. I don't know. The researchers estimate that it will take 170 years to close the gap if you don't correct the gender stereotypes. And decent workspace, long days, hours, out-of-pocket expenditures to meet their health needs are some of other reasons or other causalities what pushes women to poverty more compared to men actually. And let us discuss a little more about this double deprivation. Can you reflect and explain why poverty is a gender issue? Normally, we can debate it as poverty is an economic issue. Poverty is a general issue. Poverty is an issue in the society, for the whole society. But why poverty is a gender issue? Can we explain? I'm pausing here. Hope, are you all with me? Am I making sense?
Yes, sir.
Can you reflect or explain why poverty is a gender issue? Do you all agree poverty is a gender issue? If so, why? Danam Auro?
Yes, sir, it is true because as you said, women are paying less wages.
Yeah, please.
It becomes gender issue.
I'm asking, see, normally as academicians or economists, we debate, discuss, poverty is a general issue. Poverty ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇನ್ನೇನಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಪೂರ್ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಸಮಾಜದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಮೆನ್ ಯಾಕೆ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಪೂರ್ ಅಂತ, ಅದ್ರಲ್ಲಿ ಜೆಂಡರ್ ಕಾಂಪೊನೆಂಟ್ ಇದೆಯಾ? Causality for poverty, whether gender of a person is an important, it makes anything, brings anything actually.
Sir, according to me, there is no role in gender related to poverty.
You still think gender doesn't make a person to be a poor?
Yes, sir.
Dr. Jyoti says, no, there is no difference. Like, a person can be poor. There is no reason to say women would be more poor. Do you all agree? Dr. Rakshita?
Social come gender issues.
The social come gender issues ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ವೀರಭದ್ರಗೌಡ ಅವರು. But gender ಅಲ್ಲ, it's a social come gender issue ಅಂತ. True, it's a social issue. Poverty is a social issue, is an economic issue. Is it a gender issue? Is it because you are women that makes you to be more poor? Or probability of being poor is more when it comes to women, if you talk in research language? Hope I'm communicating.
Sir, usually what happens, like even in the family, when the fight is going on between the husband and wife, like I've seen the parents, while they're filing, oh, you're running and I'm not running. If I would have gone, I would have been taken care of the family. So joining both the hands, irrespective of the gender, okay, so would lead to a better standard of living and the better economic condition. So in this perspective, if we say that it is a kind of a gendered issue, it's kind of a gendered issue, sir.
Dr. Nagesh says it is gender issue. Dr. Rakshita or idara, the camera is on and it's not moving.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You Kannada ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಿರೋ ಅಥವಾ ಹಿಂದಿನೋ?
Kannada, sir.
ಸೊ ತಾವು ಬಡತನ, ಮಹಿಳೆಯ ಅದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ಜೆಂಡರ್ ಅಥವಾ ನಾವೇನು ಲಿಂಗತ್ವ ಅಂತ ಏನ್ ಕರಿತೀವಿ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ ಅದೊಂದು ಒಬ್ಬ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿ ಮಹಿಳೆ ಆಗಿರುವ ಕಾರಣದಿಂದ ಆಕೆ ಒಂದು ಬಡತನಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಸನ್ನಿವೇಶ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಂಬ್ತೀರಾ?
ಹೌದು ಸರ್.
ಕಾರಣ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದಾ?
ಸರ್ ಅವಳಿಗೆ ಸಿಗುವಂತಹ ಅವಕಾಶಗಳಾಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಆಗ್ಲೇ ಹೇಳಿದಾಗೆ ಅನ್ಪೇಯ್ಡ್ ಆಗಿರುವಂಥದ್ದಾಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಈ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಾರಣಗಳಿಂದಾಗಿ ಪಾವರ್ಟಿ ಅನ್ನೋದು ಜೆಂಡರ್ ಇಶ್ಯೂ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಸರ್.
Friends, what I want to again clear, you can debate with me offline, online, etc. I would say yes, poverty is a social and economical issues, but it is more a gender issues. See what in terms of academically and research wise, all this data make us to believe if you are a woman, you have a higher probability of becoming poor, being poor. So that is the whole thinking, because your work is not considered as an economic activity. You are not encouraged to work. There's a deprivation. Whether you do the same work, women are paid less compared to be it in agriculture land or be it in the Bollywood. So whether they are a lead lady or whatever, so the work is not considered on par with the male counterpart. So
Sir, direct contribution illde idru kuda, because of her service only the family is
ಅದು ಆಯ್ತು ಮೇಡಮ್. ಈಗ ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ, ಹೌದು, ಈಗ ಉದಾಹರಣೆ ನನ್ನ ಹೆಂಡತಿ, ಅವಳು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾಳೆ ಮನೇಲಿ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು, ನಾನು ಸೋದಟ್ ನಾನು ಆಚೆಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, ಇನ್ಕಮ್ ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರಿಗೆ ಬಂತು, ಅಸೆಟ್ ನನ್ನ ಹೆಸರು ನಾನು ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡೆ, ನನ್ನ ಹೆಂಡತಿಗೆ ಏನ್ ಸಿಕ್ತು? ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡದೆ ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದು ಆತ್ಮತೃಪ್ತಿ ಬಿಟ್ರೆ, ನಾಳೆ ನಾನು ಡೈವರ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಇಟ್ಕೋಣ, ಸುಮ್ನೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, ನಂಗಂತ ಅದೇನು ಆಗದ್ ಬೇಡ. ಸೊ ನನ್ ಯಾರ ಹತ್ರ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಅಸೆಟ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ? ಅಸೆಟ್ ನಂದ?
ಫ್ಯಾಮಿಲಿ ಆಸ್ ಎ ಹೋಲ್ ಸರ್.
ಬಟ್ ನಾಳೆ ನಾನು ಕೊಡ್ತೀನ?
Both, sir.
ಬೋತ್, ಬಟ್ ನಾಳೆ ನಾನು ಕೊಡ್ತೀನ?
No, sir. No, sir.
ಕೊಡ್ತೀನ?
Maybe having.
Maybe if I'm sensitive enough, probably I'll give. But in most of the cases, we are living in this society. We see how the majority of the diverse cases otherwise should have been solved in 1 day or probably in 15 days. But why they
ರೂಢಿ ಪದ್ಧತಿ ಮತ್ತು ಅರಿವು ಅನ್ನೋಂಥದ್ದು ಬಹಳ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸವಾಗಿನೇ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ಸರ್. ಈಗ ನಾವು ಸುಮಾರು ದಿನದಿಂದ ಲಿಂಗ ಸಂವೇದನೆ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಈಗ ಈ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮ ಆರ್ಥಿಕತೆಯನ್ನ ಹೆಂಡತಿಗೆ ಹಂಚಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು, ಈ ಅರಿವು ಗೊತ್ತಾದಾಗೂನು ಹಂಚಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು, ಅದನ್ನೇ ರೂಢಿ ಮತ್ತು ಅರಿವು ಅಂತಕ್ಕಂಥದ್ದು ಯಾವಾಗ್ಲೂನು ಒಂದು ಸಮರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಆಚರಣೆ ಒಳಗೊಳ್ಳೋದಿಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು.
ಎಕ್ಸಾಕ್ಟ್ಲಿ. ಆ ಅರಿವು ರೂಢಿಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಏನೋ ಒಂದ್ ಕೆಲಸ ಆಗ್ಲೇಬೇಕು. ಈಗ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂವೇದನೆಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಥಿತಪ್ರಜ್ಞೆಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆ ಆ ರೂಢಿ ತಪ್ಪು ಅಂತ, ಅಥವಾ ರೂಢಿ ಒಪ್ಪುವಂಥದ್ದಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದಿದೆ, ಅರಿವಿದೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ. ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಇರ್ಲಿ ಬಿಡಿ, ರೂಢಿನೇ ಬೇರೆ ಅರಿವಿನೇ ಬೇರೆ, ಅದೇನೋ ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ಓದಕ್ಕೆ ಬದನೆಕಾಯಿ ತಿನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂತ ನಾವೇನ್ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತೀವಲ್ಲ, ಹಂಗಿದ್ಬಿಡೋಣ, ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು 100 ಶತಮಾನ ಆದ್ರೂ ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಯಾವುದೇ ಸೆಷನ್ ಮಾತಾಡೋದು ಬೇಕಾಗಲ್ಲ. ನಮ್ಮ ಒಟ್ಟಾರೆ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ, ನಾವಿಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರುವಂತ ಚರ್ಚೆ, ಹೌದು ಈ ರೂಢಿಗಳನ್ನ ಬದಲಾಯಿಸಬಹುದಾ? 170 ವರ್ಷ ತಗೊಳುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಯಾರೋ ಒಬ್ಬ ರಿಸರ್ಚರ್ ಎಸ್ಟಿಮೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ, ಅಥವಾ ಯಾವ್ದೊಂದು ರಿಸರ್ಚ್ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಎಸ್ಟಿಮೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ. ಆ 170 ವರ್ಷ ಇವತ್ತಿಂದ ಶುರು ಆದ್ರೆ, ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತಾರೆ ಆ 170 ಮುಂದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾನೆ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಯಾವತ್ತೋ ಶುರು ಆಗ್ತೇ ಹೋದ್ರೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಸಂಘಟಿತ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನ, ಅದು ಪಾಲಿಸಿ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ರೂಢಿಯ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಆಗ್ಬೋದು, ಅಥವಾ ಸಣ್ಣದಾಗಿ ಕೆಳಗಡೆಯಿಂದ ಎಂಪವರ್ ಮಾಡೋದ್ರ ಮುಖಾಂತರ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ನಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ನಾವು ಇರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಲೊಕ್ಯಾಲಿಟಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಸಿಕ್ಕ ಅವಕಾಶನ ಬಳಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ವಿ ಎಂಪವರ್ and bring the gender disparity low, a difference between men and women which is causing economical inequality low anta adre, there is a chance. So ರೂಢಿ ಖಂಡಿತವಾಗಿಯೂ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಇದೆ. That is the reason we are discussing. And as you said, lack of assets, majority of the reason is why women push to poverty, they don't own assets in their name unless they are from a matriarchal society, like a district from the Dakshina Kannada irbodu, or states like Kerala, states like Meghalaya, where matriarchal society or inheritance of family assets goes to female. In other words, they don't have assets in their name. When the push comes short, when there is an economical challenge in the family, she has to bear the double burden of being more poor. That is what we are trying to discuss. And time poverty, unpaid and other things we said, and limited access to the resources. These are all some of the reasons. And gender stereotypes, basically, we have somehow made these stereotypes, and stereotypes, having gone through various gender classes, what is the meaning of stereotype. There is no truth, there is no logic in it, but we still keep believing it as a truth, as still floating that connotation as a truth. That is called stereotypes. We always somehow said, ಮಹಿಳೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಕ್ಷಮಯ ಧರಿತ್ರಿ, ಮಹಿಳೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಕರುಣಾಮೂರ್ತಿ. So she can be a more caregiver, better caregiver than a men anta, because it is unpaid work. And we have fabricated the economical aspects to deprive women that, okay, she is better to do those jobs ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಇದು ಉದಾಹರಣೆ ಕೊಡ್ತಿರ್ತೀವಿ. See, when it comes to home, who cooks? Obviously, it is women, right? When it comes to restaurants, who cooks? It is men. Because there it is paid activity, here it is unpaid activity. It doesn't mean that men cannot cook. It doesn't mean that only women can cook better. This is an absolute example for a stereotype. So wherein both can do an activity, we are somehow stereotyped. Hennu andre Annapurneshwari, she has to cook, she has to feed. So that is the reason at home she cooks, so that men can go and do an economic activity. So there are a lot of stereotypes also we have made it. And when it comes to, see, I was in a panel discussion recently in a business environment, and one of the principal from a very leading private chain of schools, she was saying that, no, we are very proud because in our sector, that is in education sector, when it comes to especially higher primary and high schools, 90-95% of our people are women, our workforce are women. I said, that's something you should not be or need not be proud of, because you are having that advantage because of the social stereotype, gender stereotype. We have somehow said women can be better teacher, or women make a better teacher anta. And also families, if you comparatively see the family decisions, they encourage their wives to go to the teaching job compared to any other job, thinking that, okay, they can go and come, there is no external responsibility, etc. Whatever may be her capability, she may be capable to rule the country, but we confine her to take up such jobs which we feel advantageous to the family. It's good for family, or it may be good for family. I'm not disagreeing on that count, but because of the gender stereotypes, whatever she wanted to do, she's just compromising it to do some jobs. So it could be that kind of a stereotype, job specific stereotypes, or it could be also floating a stereotype that she's not capable to do something. She can't do hard work. She can't go and stand in the sunlight. All those things. So we also stereotype. So based on the competencies, or it could be about our ability to manage institutions or lead institutions. Those stereotypes are also there. But all these things, it could be economical aspects or gender stereotypes, costing our economy. So what it is making, we are losing GDP potential. We are reduced innovation and productivity. Some even Peterson Institution study, it says firm with at least 30% of female leadership had 15% higher profitability compared to the firms which were headed by men. And of course, the smaller market size, because we are not making women to participate in economic activity, even market is not growing, because it is understood that when women earn more, they tend to invest more on the family's health, education, and well-being, creating more robust and sustainable consumer base and perpetuating poverty. So because you will not invest in proper assets, so you are perpetuating the poverty. You are not investing on a productive reasons. See, otherwise, I can also argue, even till now, the wealth is in the hands of men. That means we should have come out of poverty. There should not have been absolute poverty. So This is also an issue to discuss and debate. So now let me, from all these problems, let me quickly take you through what we can do. What are all the alternatives? What strategies we have? Now, while we need to think about both rural and urban economy, but I'm focusing more towards the rural economy in this session because two reasons. One, absolute poors are in the rural area again. The poverty situations are furthermore rampant in the rural areas, and we have a space and scope to have an inclusivity if you work in the rural area. And one, as we said, needless to say, significant of number of people on the rural live in the rural area, and so the people under the poverty. And as we all know, agriculture sector is shrinking. Although we say around 65%, 55%, people are engaged in agriculture sector, or whether those many people are contributing higher value to the GDP. No, it is not. When we analyzed GDP contribution from the agriculture sector in 2023, it's only 15%. That means 85% of the contribution is coming from either manufacturing or more from service sector. That means more people are engaged in agriculture, but they are contributing less to the economy. That means opportunities are shrinking and values are shrinking. That says there is a requirement to move workforce from secondary and tertiary sector, from agriculture sector to secondary and tertiary sector. And income inequality is increasing, causing distressed migration and under urbanization. So there is no rural opportunity. Today you see there is a mass migrations from village, and seasonally there's an undue urbanization is happening. So it is important to focus on rural livelihood if we have to grow as a overall country. And second, if you want to target more towards women empowerment. So the rural livelihood, strengthening rural livelihood is more important in this current context. And for supporting rural livelihood, country came out with the strategy, as you all know. We started forming self-help groups, right? Anybody know about self-help groups? ಸ್ತ್ರೀ ಶಕ್ತಿ ಸಂಘಗಳು, ಮಹಿಳಾ ಸ್ವಸಹಾಯ ಸಂಘಗಳು, ಇದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿದೆಯಾ?
ಎಸ್ ಸರ್, ಎಸ್ ಸರ್.
ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಶುರುವಾಗಿರಬಹುದು ಅದು?
ಸರ್ ಬಾಂಗ್ಲಾದೇಶ್ ಸರ್.
ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ನಾಗೇಶ್ ಬಾಂಗ್ಲಾ ಅಂತ. ಧರ್ಮಸ್ಥಳದಲ್ಲಿ ಶುರುವಾಯ್ತು ಅಂತ. ಓಕೆ, ಹೌದು. ಈ ಪ್ರಪಂಚಕ್ಕೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಪ್ರವರ್ಧಮಾನಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದದ್ದಂಥದ್ದು ಬಾಂಗ್ಲಾದೇಶದ ಗ್ರಾಮೀಣ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ನ ಮಾದರಿ. ಪ್ರೊಫೆಸರ್ ಯೂನುಸ್ ಅದನ್ನ ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು ಒಂದು ನಂಬಿಕೆ ಇದೆ.
ಹೌದು ಸರ್.
ಆದ್ರೆ ನೀವು 80ರ ದಶಕ ಅಥವಾ 70ರ ದಶಕದಲ್ಲಿ ಇಕನಾಮಿಕ್ ಪಾಲಿಸೀಸ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಕಂಟ್ರಿ ಅನಲೈಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಬಂದ್ರೆ, ಅದು ಡ್ವಾಕ್ರಾ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರಬಹುದು, ನಂತರದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರಬಹುದು. ಸೊ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಲ್ಲಿ, ಅದರಲ್ಲೂ ಹೆಚ್ಚಾಗಿ ಇನ್ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ, ವಿ ಪಯನಿಯರ್ಡ್ ದಿಸ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್. It was called neighborhood groups or affinity groups way back in 80s and late 70s actually. So this concept was initially floated to bring in the empowerment amongst women, not just economically, but socially and politically. So when women start becoming, start coming together, their collective bargaining power will increase. Their ability to negotiate will increase, so they can acquire more economical as well as social development ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು the basic fundamental principle of the self-help group concept actually. But what was started as an affinity and empowerment initiative, unfortunately, again acquired by financial houses, the microfinance institutions and such kind of institutions. And now this platform is also being saturated. We did a study to understand whether SHGs are solution for economic development. Unfortunately, various statistics say it is not so. Only 5% reported to have received skill training program and 6% reported to have received livelihood support, those who are in part of the self-help groups actually. This study was done in Karnataka. It's my own study again. About 61% of the respondents said their peers would not interfere or support at the time of distress in the family. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಾನೇನೋ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಲಿ ಇದೀನಿ ಅಂತಾನೆ ನನ್ನ ಪಕ್ಕದ ಮನೆಯವಳು ಅಥವಾ ನನ್ನ SHG ಯ ಸಹ ಮೆಂಬರ್ ಬಂದು ಭಾಗವಹಿಸಿ ನನ್ನ ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾಳ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಅವ್ರ ನಂಬಿಕೆ ಇಲ್ಲ ಮಾಡ್ತಾಳೆ ಅಂತೆಲ್ಲ. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಹೋಲ್ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಆಫ್ SHG ವಾಸ್ ಇನಿಷಿಯಲಿ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟೆಡ್ ವಿತ್ ಅನ್ ಅಫಿನಿಟಿ and family income change reported to be happening at the slow pace, 40% in the 3-year ಅಂತ ನಾವು ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಂಡಾಗ when we try to analyze it, so that's around 13% annual average ಅಂತ ನೋಡಿದಾಗ. But there is no difference between there is no substantial between the regular income of the people who are not part of the SHGs and those who are part of the SHGs in the district we analyze. That means their per capita income was equal or more than, those people in participating in SHG, their per capita income was lesser than the district average. That means we can conclude it is not actually making a substantial impact on the women economic growth just because they are part of the SHGs and all that. So this is another challenge we have actually. We had SHG platform, but that is not doing something good as we have thought. So it is important to know to take a step forward from SHG and create a livelihood or a sustainable livelihood activities in the villages. What do you mean by sustainable livelihood? One, it should help a person or it should empower a person to cope up and recover from external stress and shocks. For example, there is a natural disaster that happens. There's a seasonal shift of prices of crops they grow, employment opportunities and food availability, and also with respect to the varying marketing trends. So whatever this external shocks and risks that can appear, so it should insulate a person from not getting disturbed or becoming distressed with that. For example, we are all, because we are educated, we have taken health insurances, we have taken term insurances, probably we have taken other sorts of thing. We have also kept some reserve for our rainy days. So if something happens, if even tomorrow for some 4 months of salary won't come, we are somehow able to manage that situation. So that is what the livelihood should give us. It is not only about everyday bread earning. It should empower the person for longer period, over the period, to be resilient from these kind of external stress and shocks. And it can maintain or increase its capabilities and assets. Because we are doing that activity, we should be able to acquire assets, we should be able to have a steady and increased income. And our capabilities also should be increased by doing that job. And third, it is not dependent on external support. So basically, it should not stop. That activity should not stop once somebody stops their grant or stop their support. They should be continuous in nature. They should happen continuously and maintain the long-term productivity, and it should not destroy the other livelihood. That is what the sustainable livelihood framework from the Robert Chambers says. So if you have all these qualities in the job you are doing, that can be considered as livelihood. Otherwise, it may be just a job, or it may just be an employment. There's a difference between a livelihood and a job, a work actually. So I'll just to elevate our understanding, I'll ask you whether you consider NREGA as a livelihood. I'm sure most of you know about the NREGA program, National Rural Employment Guarantee Program. Do you think that is as a livelihood?
No, sir.
Dr. Nagesh is talking, huh?
Yeah, sir. Yes, sir. This is Dr. Nagesh speaking.
Why do you say?
Sir, it is typically making a person to have a economic stability. So because agriculture-based economy that we have, and agriculture is a seasonal. So where if they have got a water facility or a water resources, they can cultivate certain things. But the geographical area, which is only depend upon the rain harvesting, so will not have a job opportunity as once they finish their agricultural season.
Okay.
So this NREG is going to give a 365-degree economic protectivity for those people.
No, I asked you, Dr. Nagesh, whether do you consider NREGA as a livelihood program or whether you consider that as a wage program?
Sir, I can tell you it's going to be a kind of a finance support or assisted kind of a an activity rather than
basically you say it's a short term or it's a supplementary.
Exactly, sir.
Okay. So why I'm saying, taking that example to make you kind of communicate the difference between a livelihood and a work. So basically, livelihood should empower a person in a longer period, should develop a resilience to cope up with external challenges and risk. It should increase their capability by doing it. For example, you're all teaching, I'm teaching. Because I involve in this activity every day, I keep learning. And I keep empowering more. I keep becoming more and more better. So over the period, my profession is making me to improve my capability. So that means if the work is not increasing the capability, it cannot be called as a livelihood. What I'm trying to communicate, my friends, majority of the work, even though they are doing, it is not a livelihood, even in our rural areas, because it's not taking them, empowering them in the longer period. So that is the reason why we need a shift towards livelihood models. We need to think. So whatever the program we design for the people, so that should get them livelihood, not mere a job, right? Not mere a work in a shorter period. Okay. So we need to, in the livelihood as well. So we need to move beyond from path of livelihood to wealth creation. That's something, a new concept I'm leaving with you to solve whatever the gender related inequality, gender related poverty, gender related growth issues. We need to embrace a concept of wealth creation. This is nothing new. What again, Gandhiji talked about in GRAAM Swaraj. So I'm just requoting and rephrasing in a different fashion. Basically, you need to move our rural programs from mere income generation program or a livelihood program to wealth creation. How to do that? There should be appropriate and efficient use of local resources to meet the local need. For example, we are growing local, some particular agricultural products and commodities, right? We are producing it. In many areas, if you see, there is not even a local use of that. They're not even making a local use of the same. There is no value addition would happen. So they grow and give it to somebody, and that somebody will make a benefit of it. Somebody will make more gain out of it, not the person who grows or who produces. That's the challenge. So we need to break that barrier. We need to make how efficiently or effectively the local resources can be utilized and value added, ensuring that money circulates within the local community and enhance the control of the community over its local resources and enhance the financial and other assets within the community that they can generate future income streams and reduce risk arising from the vagaries of distant market faced by poor producers. Again, as I said, today one of the major challenge for Indian farmers is market, not the monsoon, it is market. Monsoon somehow they can predict, but market cannot be predicted. So they are not understanding what to grow in which seasons, how to market, when the market is high so that they can go and sell. This is the challenge. So, and they are completely under the mercy of external factors. So how we can reduce that? How we can de-risk them from arising vagaries of distant market situation, and how we can organize them as a producers so that they have a greater control about their livelihood, not only today, for the future, and increasing their bargaining power. If we develop a design, a program keeping these principles, we can move from rural livelihood to wealth creation. We can see that rural wealth is created. Coming to that. So there is, I'm just giving a schema of how to develop this rural, wealth creation concept, which we can share later. But there are a lot of emerging solutions and models for solving rural poverty, especially focusing on women. I'm sure most of it you know, but I'm just for the sake of everyone's understanding, I'm sharing this model. There's an increasing growth towards agripreneurship. We are now increasingly talking. You should no more be an agriculturist. You should be an agripreneur. How you can be an agripreneur? There are different models and agripreneurship, that's something available. And we are now increasingly federating women and women groups in food processing, right? So local agriculture products, they can take it and they can do some minimum value addition and they can earn out of it. I'll take a simple example of ragi. I'm going to talk very quickly about another initiative I have started, which is doing a good job actually when it comes to the food processing and supporting the sustainable livelihood. So I think explaining that, and local artisans. So creating a local artisan group, and if there are any family inherited artisan skills, we can rejuvenate and help women to do that, earn from that. And you might be knowing even the online platforms like Amazon has come out with an exclusive program called Amazon Karigar, so that they'll give a focus on a platform for women or any artisan for that matter to sell their products online with reduced expenses, right? So those kind of opportunities are the new models are happening. We need to kind of connect our rural a lot with these kind of things, and self-employment and micro enterprises are the other models, and urban rural connect is the other thing. So there are urban areas out there which are in demand for good and products, but how you can connect with the rural products and communities. And there are a lot of programs like eco development club in the forest department. If some of you are residing in the forest area, in the near to forest area, there is a program called EDC. Many a times forest departments would not be able to utilize this scheme because they don't know the know-how. But as an academicians, as a practitioners, how you can collaborate and help the local tribal population, local rural population to get the benefit of eco development club models. Vandan Yojana, there's a PM Vandan Yojana available, which provides a lot of such opportunities to have a rural livelihood and other things. Of course, there's a tourism and potential opportunities in that sector, and recognizing traditional occupations and branding them, as I said. So for the artisans, that's also, there are a lot of opportunities and strategies available to support the rural livelihood. So there are ways to federate also. You can make producers cooperative. You can make a limited liability partnership of these women producers or the rural producers. You can make them through the partnership deed, micro enterprises, and as well as can start a social business to come out of these challenges. I'm going to quickly take you through one of the cases. Normally, otherwise you all think, ಹೌದು ನೀವು ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಾ, ಹೌದು ಥಿಯರಿಟಿಕಲ್ ಫ್ರೇಮ್ವರ್ಕ್ ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಾ, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಸಾಧ್ಯನಾ, ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದಾ? ಒಂದು ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದಾ? ಸರ್ಕಾರ ಅಲ್ಲದೆ ಇರುವಂತ ಕೂಡ ಒಂದು ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು, ಅಕಾಡೆಮಿಕ್ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಟ್ಯೂಷನ್ಸ್ ಇದನ್ನ ಮಾಡಬಹುದಾ? ಸೊ ದಟ್ ಕುಡ್ ಬಿ ಎ ಕ್ವೆಶ್ಚನ್ ಯು ಮೈಟ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್. ಸೊ ವಿಮಿಲ್ ಅನ್ನುವಂತ ಒಂದು ಇನಿಷಿಯೇಟಿವ್, that is Women Entrepreneurs of VMIL anta, a case of rural social business promoted by GRAAM. We have developed it in the rural social business model to find a solution for whatever the problems we have said, and also adopting some of the principles of sustainable livelihood framework and as well as wealth creation concept. So the picture you are seeing, those are all the 14 women who promoted, who kind of absolute owners of a VMIL. You can also Google in your Google to see more about VMIL. It's products are available on Amazon, Big Basket, etc. So this is a story basically how they all started. They produce these various products out of ragi, and this ragi is completely sourced by local farmers. So with this model now you are understanding. So there is a local farmer, they produce ragi because we identified that as a predominant raw material available in that region. And now ragi was just going out of village as just ragi, right? There's no value addition now because these women started this initiative. They buy the ragi from the local farmers. That means market for the farmers are ensured, number one. Second thing is they buy it, they value add it. A lot of economic activity happens in a village, and the ragi goes out of that village as a finished product. So these kind of models are kind of required to be replicated in various parts of the country if we really want to talk about a $5 trillion economy, which is inclusive, which is really gender, engender development, we call it. Otherwise it becomes a development. If you want to engender development, not endanger, it is engender development. So you need to embrace this kind of a local entrepreneurship model also. And basically in this model, what we tried to do, we did a product identification exercise, we did a local market study, a community mobilization ecosystem development activity to understand what all the women who are interested and who are in need of getting into this kind of economic activity. We created a business plan, what they can do, what they can produce, etc. We had to provide them some entrepreneurship development training program in collaboration with some institutions. Not that everything we had to do. There are existing resource person institutions like Root SETI. In our case, we utilized the local institution called CFTRI, Central Food Technology Research Institutions, to give them a technical support and a partnership and the product capabilities, etc. And we took them through various certification processes also, and also they started manufacturing, and now they are in the growth phase, manufacturing these products and earning their livelihood on their own. But it is not so easy. There are policy action required. Why I'm saying this, tomorrow as an academician, so you have a opportunity to play, you have a role to play, you will be invited to various policy platforms, or you may take up research projects, you may take up some evaluation studies. So you can probably keep these things in mind. So what you can suggest, one is, unfortunately, even today, there is no legal recognition structures for rural livelihood separately. So this is an enterprise again. If I start a company in an area, it is seen on par with any other company in any area. There is no exemption, there is no additional provisions for me other than some subsidies. So there is no supporting mechanism for the rural livelihood initiative. Enabling ecosystem, there is no incentives, there is no tax rebates for such initiatives that happens in a rural area. There is no facilitation agency for certification and standards. Look at, for example, what we had to do. There is food securities, safety certifications required, the company registrations required. So we need agencies and institutions to support, and also towards access to finance. And we need to think about the policy, as I said, from the overall rural livelihood to wealth creation. Just quickly to take you through, what is our role as an academicians? What more we can do in solving this country's problem to make women not become more and more subject to poverty, more discrimination, etc. What empowerment we can do? First, as a researchers, I would believe a role of every teacher is to be a researcher, to be a continuous researcher. Actually, the research is something makes us to improve ourselves and keep growing as well. One is be a local level researcher. How encourage your students and yourself to move beyond only doing research on national data, crunching NSSO or census data or any secondary data. Conduct local and, more importantly, qualitative research. Friends, my understanding is we don't need research to understand the problem, because from the secondary data we can understand, we can estimate the problem. But we need research to understand the consequence of the problem, to understand causality of the problem. Unless we understand cause of the problem, we will not be giving the solutions properly. We will only be giving the superficial solutions. So qualitative research will help us to understand the causality of the problem solutions. And ethnographic studies, we may want to do it more in the local area, using your own students. How you can make them to do smaller ethnographic studies, so that we find reasons and solutions for the problem, for some of the problems what we have discussed. It could be about doing an impact evaluation, critically evaluating government and NGO programs. I'm sure there would be a lot of NGOs doing their work in your area. Then they don't have research and data capability. These are academics who can help them, researchers who can help them in understanding what they are doing, whether they are doing correct or whether they can improve. So an external view will help them to improve their work. That is another opportunity as an academic we can contribute. Some of the thoughts I wanted to leave behind is, one, it could be doing a study on impact on climate change. It is happening very rapidly, and we are also witnessing it. How it is affecting more on women livelihood. What a role of technology can bridge the gender gap. the intersection of caste and gender in economic exclusions, the local reasons for lack of women participation in workforce. We keep talking, many statistics tell us, okay, women are not participating. Only 37% of women are participating. But unless you understand local gender stereotypes, unless you understand local social issues, unless you understand local, the family practices, the local practices in some areas, you will not be able to find solutions for it. We are only saying superficial solutions. So you can't have a customized program. So understanding those local challenges for the national problem is important and required. That can be done through our studies. And role as a community partner, beyond before being an academic, you are a community member. You are part of that community. How you can contribute as a community partner? One is knowledge transfer. Share the expertise on best practices in business, marketing, technology with local women groups. Whenever an opportunity comes, actually, you may be a professor in marketing, you may be a professor in social work, you may be probably in some other technology institutions. I don't know which are the different streams you come from. So you can be part of that community partner, transfer whatever the knowledge you know to the local NGOs and local expertise, local community members, women group. Provide a mentorship. How you establish a mentorship from your academic institutions to the local women groups. Linkages, connect the women group with with the producers organization, farmer market, etc. And marketing. Some of your projects, your students' projects, to provide a marketing and positioning for the rural women. Actually, they learn a lot. Even they fail, that is okay, but they would be supporting. If you are a commerce faculty, if you have a commerce students, I'm basically, I was from NSS background, and every Saturday we don't have much idea other than cleaning the college campus as an NSS volunteer. So, and thing is, why can't we credit volunteering activity? Why can't we recognize volunteering activity? Why can't we ask, if my student is a commerce student, why can't we tell them that every Saturday you don't have to come and just clean the campus in the college? You go and do a same volunteering to one of the women entrepreneur group or a self-help group in your village. Help them in bookkeeping, help them in accounting, writing some basic books of accounts, so that their personal skill also be grown. They'll know nothing like practical experience, and the local women can also be getting the opportunity. I'm just throwing some of these ideas. I'm sure you have better opportunities, better ideas than me. And as a students, one of the major immediate stakeholders in front of you are your own female students. They are also facing stereotypes, challenges. So how they can come out of those stereotypes? Because many studies says even engineering students, even polytechnic students, after completing their polytechnics, ITAs or graduations, they are not allowed to go out of their village, or they go out of their taluka maximum for employment. For that, they lose an opportunity. We need to increase their mentorship and networking to connect successful women leaders and entrepreneurs. So invite them for your colleges and create some opportunity for your women students to know the women achievers of that region or institutions that are helping the women growth in that particular region. Experiential learning. Organize field trips and projects that expose students to the realities of gender inequality and social enterprises. You can even use some of the MOOC platforms like Infosys Springboard, or Step is another platform, to bridge the skill gap amongst your students. It could be on negotiation, public speaking, financial literacy, or entrepreneurial ability. There are a lot of such opportunities are available. Along with your syllabus, introduce them, give them an exposure of their whatever the tools and knowledge base required for their future life. And also fostering entrepreneurship. There would be, when ministries or various government programs are establishing incubation centers in various districts at the regional level. How you can connect some of the interested students to the incubations, because friends, tomorrow only 20% of the students you teach get into job employment, right? You can debate with me. 55 to 60% required to make their own life. They have to be self-employed, they have to be entrepreneurial. So unfortunately, in our current education system, we are only preparing them to be wage employees, to work for somebody. We are not giving them an exposure to work for themselves. So those are all the things. Incubation support will help them to gain such opportunities and access to capital. There are a lot of loan schemes and financial assistance schemes available that many of our graduate students would not even know. They'll come to know probably 10 years after they complete their graduation. Many graduates I interact with, they don't even know about PMFME scheme, Mudra scheme, etc. Once they fail in their life, somebody 10 years down the line, they go to some program, then they come to know about all these opportunities. Why can't we expose them about the entrepreneurship and livelihood opportunities at the college level is something I want to leave that thought with you.